Oi! Yes! First balls deep breakdown of the week after a week off, you guys. We've got an absolute banger, banger of a fight to talk about today here on Balls Deep Breakdown with me, your host, Uncle Weezy. And that fight is going to be the Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Carlston Harris fight. It will be not the co-main event, but the fight right before the co-main event. I can't wait to talk about this fight with you guys. It is a fight that, as soon as I saw it announced, I've been looking forward to this one. These are two great fighters. You got really Carlston Harris, who's absolutely peaking right now, a guy with a lucha libre and boxing background. And then you got a guy in Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's 14-0, who's finished all 14 of those wins inside the distance. And this guy hasn't been fighting in like bum promotions. He's been, an M1, battled in the Nomads. He's been fighting some really tough competition before he got to the UFC. He kicked off his career fighting killers at the age of 19. So Shavkat Rakhmonov, the Nomad, going up against Carlston Harris, the pride of Guyana. I can't wait to break this fight down with you guys, and it wouldn't be the same unless we did it together. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. We got my guy JSJ in here, the first in the room, saying, glad this banger is your first breakdown. Maybe the two most dangerous unranked welterweights right now. I can't wait. They're both so good. They're both so good at what they do. They're so well-rounded. They're explosive. They fight with good game plans. They're both born to do this. They're both tough. So it's such a great stylistic matchup. They're both huge for the division, too. Just absolutely massive welterweights here. Shavkat's 27. Carlston is 34. So you got guys in different points of their careers right now. Harris has got the more experience, but I mean, it's not like Shavkat is inexperienced here at the age of 27. We're talking about a guy with 14 professional fights already and a Sambo background. So he's been at this since he was a young child, getting ready to do exactly what he's doing right now. Such a great matchup. We got my guy PayPal My Money DFS in the room, one of the regulars over in the DFS by the Numbers Discord. Shout out DFS by the Numbers Discord. Good to see you in here, brother. Always good to have you around, hanging out. We got my guy F. Carrillo in the room. What's up, my man? He was with us earlier today on Stat Diggers. If you haven't seen Stat Diggers yet, the link to that is in the description of this video, you guys, along with the link to the stats that we'll be looking at for all 13 fights and the advanced stats on all 13 fights. That's available for free to download there. Check that out in the description as well. He is saying Harris wins. Isn't going to play gatekeeper for UFC. He's too hungry. Dude, yeah. I mean, like, if there's one underdog, there's a couple I'm willing to hang my hat on this week and get and bet at, because I think that they've got paths. But, Carlston Harris is absolutely one of them this week. And I think he is as live as it gets, especially at the line that you can get him at right now. And we got my guy K. Robbie in the room, another guy from the DFS by the Numbers Discord, saying, oi, let's go, Uncle Weezy. What's up, Robbie? And then we got DFS by the Numbers saying, can I get an oi? Can I get an oi? Dude, you guys can get an oi whenever you want one from me, man. I appreciate each and every one of you. And speaking of people that I appreciate, my brother Lou Betcha here in the room saying beast fight breakdown to kick off the week. It is exactly that. This is a beast fight. I think it should be the co-main, but the Soriano Maximov fight's going to be super fun too. I was mad immediately when I saw that was getting the co-main instead of Harris Rakhmonov, but I get it. I've cooled down a little bit. I've let cooler heads prevail, and I'm going to enjoy all three of those fights. Hermanson Strickland is the main event. Co-main is Maximov against Soriano, a great fight. And then this one is going to be the next one after that. And man, what great fights. And Luke Betcha also giving us an oi. We got Victor De Jesus saying, oi, yes. And David Dennett saying, oi. David is saying he missed Stat Diggers tonight for the football game, but let's talk some Shavkat and Carlson. Let's do that, David. Can't wait. And I'm really happy that now football is over. So now Sunday nights will be again about stat diggers, about getting us an early look at all these fights from a statistical perspective and give us some props to look at, because usually on Sunday nights those props haven't dropped yet. So when we get a look at all the numbers of all the fights like we do every Sunday on Stat Diggers on Pub Sports Radio, we got a chance to get those opening lines when they open for the under 2.5s, for the fight doesn't go, and find the value before everybody else picks at it and leaves us with what the vultures are wind up getting. So yeah, it's good. It's good to talk about this fight. I mean, it's such a good one from a statistical perspective, from a stylistic perspective. You know, these guys are really great fighters, and it's normally I don't even do balls deep breakdowns on Sunday night, but I was chomping at the bit to talk about this fight so much that even though I've already done a couple hours of content on Pub Sports Radio today, I was ready and willing to break this one down for another hour with you guys tonight. And we got Hype MMA saying, "Oi!" And we got Daz Files saying, "Oi!" Everybody loves the oi, and I love you guys for loving it. And ring a ding ding, you guys. We got our first donation of the show. My guy Palooka Palooza with $1.99 saying thanks for the analysis. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the donation. Much, much appreciated, my man. And yeah, we've got a lot of numbers to analyze here. I've watched all the available tape on both of these guys, so I can't wait to break it down with you guys. Thank you for hanging out. We got my guy Paul Brasfield saying, "Oi, Unk." And he's saying, bad week last week. Let's get it. Leaning Harris. Yeah, man. Harris and Rakhmonov. There's reasons why both of these guys can win this fight. But man, oh man, Rakhmonov being 14-0. We've never seen him lose. It's why the line is so wide right now. Let me get a sip of water here, you guys. And then we got my guy Swoosh Plays Games saying, "Appreciate what you do. Interested to see who the ass shaving of the week is." Yeah, we're going to find out who the ass shaving of the week is on Tuesday night. But, man, I got to be transparent about this. Guys, I'm 0 for 3 on ass shavings of the week this year. So I picked Chase Sherman by knockout over Fat Collier for the first event of the year. And it was an event where I wasn't confident in anybody. And I'm kind of glad I stayed out of the Giga trap. I took an underdog. I took a shot. And Fat Collier just engulfed him with his obesity on the ground. And I mean, hey, man, all props to Fat Collier. He got a great takedown. He finished that fight on the ground, which nobody really thought that was even a possibility for him. So I got that one wrong. And then I got Kay Hansen over Jasmine Jasdavicius wrong. I thought Kay was going to out-grapple her. I thought she was just going to be a problem for Jasmine on the ground once she got on top. That was not the case. Jasmine looked fantastic. Congratulations to everybody that cashed the ticket, a big underdog ticket at that, on Jasmine Jasdavicius. And, you know, I still think there's massive holes in Jasmine's game. Her striking defense is still not there. Kay was actually winning the exchanges on the feet, and she's not known for her striking. But I was very impressed with what I saw on the ground from her defensive wrestling, from her ability to be able to stay out of trouble from a 10th Planet brown belt like Kay Hansen. Really impressive performance by Jasmine. And then another impressive performance, making me 0 for 3 on my ass shaving of the week. Victor Henry over Hani Barcelos, man. Victor Henry looked absolutely fantastic. I got to get something. I got like a frog in my throat. Excuse me. I feel better now. All right. Yeah. So Switch, he's saying you want to see who the ass shaving of the week is. Hopefully you're not waiting to see it just so you can fade my sorry ass because I'm 0-3. But I'm gonna rally, baby, like Lazarus rising from the dead. Your Uncle Weezy's gonna start putting these ass shaving of the week together. We're gonna start stacking them like flapjacks, and we're gonna start this week. Thank you, Swoosh Plays Games, for hanging out. We got Jared Weaver hanging out. Just got that subscribe button. I appreciate that, Jared. Much love to you for subscribing to the channel. Everybody who thumbs up the videos, who subscribe to the channel. I wouldn't be able to continue doing this without all you guys watching and supporting the channel. Big ups to you, brother. Much, much love. Victor De Jesus saying, couldn't make it to Stat Diggers. I was busy at work. Yeah, hey, man. Dude, Stat Diggers is one of those things. It's, not everybody, especially during football season, is around at 5:15, but we're going to move it back to 6:15 Central, 7:15 Eastern once football is over. And it's basically over this week because we're not going to compete with it on Super Bowl Sunday. We're going to do Stat Diggers on Monday night that week after the Die Hard MMA podcast. But as far as this week goes, we got the regular content on Pub Sports Radio. We got everything that I'm going to be doing on DFS by the Numbers channel. And then right here tomorrow night, Balls Deep Breakdown. Tuesday night, Just the Tip. Wednesday night, Balls Deep Breakdown. We're going to stay active because guess what, you guys? Before we get into this fight, just want to let you guys know that we've had a week off last week. We had 2 events the weeks before that, and we had a month off before that. Well, guess what? It's time to get back to work, everybody. We got 8 straight weeks of UFC events, 8 straight weeks to stack tickets, cashed tickets like flapjacks, 8 straight weeks to shave these bookies' asses. And it starts with UFC Vegas 47, Strickland versus Hermanson. And I can't wait to break it all down with you guys. Swoosh saying 8 ass shavings in a row incoming. Yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it, man. And I know that not only am I chomping at the bit to get at it, but my guy Smooth Jimmy, who has not fired his hair and makeup men like I have, because mine are just absolutely failing me. So, but Smooth Jimmy is probably going to be looking like the professional that he is here. And let me see if I predicted that correctly, unlike the ass shavings. Yeah. Your Uncle Weezy got it right. Look at Smooth Jimmy. You want to talk about a guy that's on point, ready to go, a consummate professional, ready to break down the best fight on this card. Shavkat Rakhmonov, the Nomad, going up against the Pride of Guyana, Mr. Carlston Harris. Let's start like we always do on Balls Deep Breakdown by going to the tail of the tape. And in order to do that, I have to share my screen and bring it up. We got it nice and zoomed in for you guys. And like I say, we've got the link to these stats are available for free in the description of this video. Feel free to download them and go along with us while we go through these stats. All right. We've got Shavkat Rakhmonov, still only 27 years old, despite the fact he's been a professional mixed martial artist for over 7 years and that he's got 14 professional fights. Carlston Harris is 34 years of age. Both of these guys are very big for the welterweight division, you guys. Harris is 6 feet and Shavkat's 6'1". Shavkat's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage with a 77-inch reach here. Carlston Harris is 76. Both of these guys are orthodox fighters. Shavkat straight out of Kazakhstan top team. And then Carlston Harris fighting out of Rakhmonov fight team in Brazil, but he is originally from Guyana. We do see that Carlston Harris is going to have the experience advantage here, you guys. He's got 7 more professional fights and 20 more minutes in the professional cage. If we look at the average fight time for these guys, it's below 10 minutes for both of them. Rakhmonov, 9.21 average, and it's a 7.12 average for Carlston Harris. And Carlston has been doing this for about 10 years, 3 months, while it's 7 years and 3 months for Rakhmonov. So, Harris has been doing this for 3 years longer. He's got 7 more professional fights and 20 more minutes in the cage. So a slight experience advantage here for Carlston Harris. And both of these guys have 2 fights at the UFC level. And it's Rakhmonov with 11.83 minutes of cage time. And check this out. Carlston Harris in 2 UFC fights has only managed to be in the cage for 5.5 minutes, finished both of his opponents in the first round. Shavkat finished both of his opponents. Obviously, more of a second-round finish guy for Rakhmonov, although I think he might have gotten Oliveira at the end of the first, if I'm not mistaken. But he definitely finished Prazeres in the second. Average fight time, 2.75 minutes in the UFC for Harris, 5.92 for Shavkat Rakhmonov. And when we see that Rakhmonov's got a 100% finish rate in his wins, 50% by knockout, 50% by submission, the true mark of a well-rounded mixed martial artist is being able to finish fights with submissions and knockouts. Shavkat Rakhmonov, 7 wins by sub, 7 by knockout. And look at Carlston Harris. he's finished about 60%, just under that, of his wins by finish. But it is going to be 6.8, 9.8. So it's 12 of those 17 wins have come inside the distance, and it's going to be 6 of them by submission, 6 of them by knockout. So both of these guys are diverse finishers. Only 4 losses combined between the two of them, and really Carlston Harris has only been finished once. It was by Gerard Al-Salawi in Brave, who's an excellent fighter with an excellent record. The Brave middle, or what is it? They call it like super welterweight. We could look at it here, but yeah, Al-Salawi is the only guy to knock out Carlston Harris. And the other 3 losses for Carlston Harris have all been by decision. So these guys are difficult to finish. Rakhmonov is even more difficult to beat because he's never even lost a fight. But yeah, it was Gerard Al-Salawi who in Brave 16 won in 3 minutes and 51 seconds. And this guy is 16-3, and I believe he is still the Brave. Yes, he is still the Brave super welterweight champion up at 175 pounds. So he's actually coming down 5 pounds from where he was fighting in Brave, is Carlston Harris. And the other thing about Harris, well, we'll talk about that when we talk about the strength of schedule. We'll get into both of these guys' career records. But 100% finish rate for Shavkat, 58% finish rate for Carlston Harris, and both of these guys have finished half of their finishes by submission and half by knockout. And in the 4 combined losses, only one of them coming inside the distance. It was Carlston Harris being knocked out by Gerard Salawi in Brave. So now we go to the striking statistics, you guys, and we don't have much of a sample size here. We've only got 2 fights for each one of these guys in the UFC. And they're both putting up ridiculous numbers, but we can't hang our hat too much on this small of a sample size. But we do see Shavkat, 2.87 significant strikes landed per minute, 1.27 absorbed, a 56% striking accuracy, 53% striking defense, while Carlston Harris is landing 5.27 significant strikes per minute while only absorbing 1.27. He's showing a 77% striking defense thus far, and he's landing a knockdown on 3% of the significant strikes he's landing. So that means 1 knockdown in 2 fights in 29 significant strikes landed. Both of these guys hit really hard. You see Carlston Harris using his boxing here. He hurt Aguilera in the UFC, and he definitely hurt Impa. Both of these guys have power, and one great fight for Shavkat that you can see him put his striking to work was, I believe, against a guy named Brito in M1. He knocked him out with a body shot, and before that was absolutely picking him apart from a distance. It was the Marcelo Brito fight that took place in 2016. So even 5 years ago, you could see Shavkat really putting it together with his striking. And a guy in Brito who had 20 professional fights going into that one and who had just fought for the M1 belt the fight before that and lost the decision. So he was not washed at this point, even though he was much older. But and you even see a win over Jun Yong Park here on his resume early in his career. So Shavkat is one of those guys that even though he came in very young and very green, he came in fighting really good guys right off the bat. You don't get a lot of easy fights over in M1 and Battle of the Nomads with a lot of those Russian guys and a lot of those Central Asian killers. A lot of tough fights over there, and he definitely passed a lot of those tests early in his career. But like I say, the best example of Rakhmonov striking on the regional scene is in that Brito fight, if you really want to see him put it together. But yeah, we don't have a lot of UFC numbers here. And then if we get to the takedown defense for both of these guys, been 100% so far. And Shavkat's gotten 1 of his 3 takedown attempts, while Harris has been 0 of 4. We see that Shavkat's fights have been taking place in control time positions over 60% of the time, while for Carlston Harris, it's right around 30%. Well, 32% of the time. So about a third of the time for Harris and a little less than 2/3 of the time for Shavkat. So both of these guys are very, very impressive in the grappling exchanges. They both finish a lot of fights with their grappling. Shavkat has an excellent guillotine, and he has finished more than one fight with that guillotine choke of his, while Carlston Harris has a really good front choke series. He does Darce chokes, Bravo chokes, and Anaconda chokes. He can set them up with either arm from either side. He's really good on the ground as well. And because both of these guys are so long, they're used to dealing with guys that aren't quite their size for the most part. But we do see that both of these guys are finishing a lot of fights on the ground and are very, very comfortable in the grappling exchanges, you guys. But let's catch back up here with the chat and see what you guys are talking about before we get into the strength to schedule stats here, because those are absolutely crucial here. And let's see, 8 ass shavings in a row incoming, says Swoosh Plays Games. We got my guy J772012 saying, job bless, brother. Appreciate you hanging out. We got my guy B in the room saying, oi, let's make some mad money. Chiefs kicked my ass. Rams saved my bacon. Let's make serious coin 2022. We're just getting started, B. We got to get this going. You know, the UFC is going to be there all year for us, while football is going to be going away until early September, with the exception of one more football game. And who would have known that the Cincinnati Bengals would have been involved in that football game? Cincinnati, stand up, baby. Your Bengals are in the Super Bowl for the first time I can remember since Ickey Woods. And was it Kenny Anderson? It's been a long time, you guys. I'm old enough to remember it, but it's been a long time. Cincinnati Bengals, Los Angeles Rams Super Bowl. Looking forward to it. But we got to get back into a little bit of MMA here, you guys. And saying 17 watching with 18 likes, that's an algorithm. You know what that is? That's the best YouTube MMA audience that there is out there. It's the people that are hanging out with their Uncle Weezy, man. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And B is saying Harris round 3. Very, very interesting, man. Paul Brasfield saying Rakhmonov beating up some very short guys as well. Very favorable matchups for him. Yeah, Paul, as a matter of fact, in that last fight against Prazeres, if I'm not mistaken, Shavkat had a 10-inch reach advantage. That is something you almost never see, although we will be seeing it on this card, you guys. If we go down here to the stats that you can download in the description of the video for free, we will see one more fight down here. It is the Whit Rowe fight, and that one, you guys, has got a 10-inch reach advantage for Phil Rowe, 80-inch reach against a 70-inch reach. And Phil Rowe is just an absolutely gigantic welterweight. He's 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. And when you remember and you look at like how Shavkat towered over Prazeres at the ceremonial weigh-ins, and you think of how big Shavkat is for the division, think about Phil Rowe being 2 inches taller and having a 3-inch reach advantage over Shavkat Rakhmonov. This guy Rowe is absolutely huge, but we got to get back to the Rakhmonov Harris numbers, because that's what we're looking at here. But just to put in perspective how huge, Rowe is, you see guys with 77 and 76-inch reach, and both of these guys are huge for the division, Harris and Rakhmonov. So, yeah, Phil Rowe is going to be a problem. But Harris round 3, I like the sound of that. And Paul mentioned that Rakhmonov has had some favorable matchups in terms of guys being smaller than him. One of the ones where he wasn't was the Odilov fight in Battle of the Nomads, and we'll talk about that one shortly. Jared Weaver saying, am I crazy, or is the over looking nice here? Well, there might be some value on it, because, we could talk about that from a number of different perspectives. And when we break down the props after we're done talking about all the stats, we'll get into that in a little bit more. But I like to look at these benchmarks for the division as a starting point, and for the welterweight division, we've got about a 47 to 48% finish rate in welterweight fights since the year 2013. So, whenever you're betting that a fight is going to finish inside the distance in the welterweight division, you should be starting with just a little bit of plus money. And then from there, we have to work in the offensive finish rates of both fighters, the defensive, how often they get finished in losses. Put all those numbers around it to kind of figure out, whether that number now from the benchmark goes up or down. And, with Shavkat having 100% finish rate in his 14 wins, you got to believe, that the fight doesn't go to decision is going to be juiced, minus 130, minus 140 at least. And then Harris has finished both of his UFC wins in the first round. Shavkat's finished both of his UFC wins, obviously. So, I do think that we're going to be juicing up this one to well above the welterweight benchmark, but that's an accurate reflection of how dangerous Carlston, Harris, and Shavkat Rakhmonov both are here. But yeah, the over could be interesting, like maybe an over 1.5. You might not have to pay a lot of juice on something like that. And since both of these guys have been very durable in the past, we could see that happening. David Dennett saying, haven't seen tape, but despite their finishing prowess, I could see this going the distance given their defensive skills and overall toughness. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. They're both defensively sound. They're both good grapplers, so they're not as likely to be caught in the other one's best technique. I don't think Carlston Harris is going to be sticking his head underneath Shavkat's armpit, knowing how good of a guillotine he has. And I don't think you're going to see Shavkat shooting in sloppily on Carlston Harris because Carlston Harris's front chokes are absolutely savage. So, it depends on what these guys' game plan is, whether they're going to find out that they're going to be either striking at distance or maybe they're going to be clinched up for a lot of the fight. I could see this fight going so many different ways because both of these guys are so well-rounded. They know what the game plan is going to be going in, and that's what makes this such an interesting fight to break down, guys. And is B saying it's Turman late or other dude early? You mean Shavkat? Yeah, Harris Turman, same read, piecing out after rough and yeah. Harris, Carlston Harris, yeah. Because Harris, it does have excellent conditioning, and we've never really seen Shavkat tested late in fights, except for in the Odolov fight, and he did respond really well in the third round there. So I don't know which one of these guys has better conditioning. They're both really good. And then we've got Matthew Buchanan saying at B, what's Igor Vachchanchyn doing here? That's Vladimir Putin. And we got Swoosh Plays Game saying this fight is going to be crazy for however long it lasts, but I lean Shavkat. I do think it should be closer line, though. Yeah, I hear you. And UFC Betting Experience saying Harris striking defense is sus. Won't you say, Weezy? He's sloppy. But, just by the numbers here, 77% striking defense would have him at the best striking defense in the welterweight division, but it's a small sample size. It's only 2 fights, so it's really not that meaningful, especially if, seeing as his fights haven't even lasted a total of 6 minutes in the UFC, the numbers really don't mean much. Harris is a bit sloppy on his feet, but he does have a boxing background. So, he's tricky. His defense isn't spectacular, but also at the same time, he's so unorthodox that maybe the way that he moves and the angles that the strikes come from might make him harder to hit. The numbers certainly say that he's a defensive genius, but when you watch the tape UFC Betting Experience, I see exactly what you're saying. And that, when you watch Shavkat, he's definitely the more technically sound striker, the much straighter punches, and he uses his length very well, but so does Carlston. And we got Anaconda Betts saying, oi! And we got Rob Lawrence saying, oi! Cheers, buddy. Bellator killed me. Looking to bounce back this weekend. Yeah, I don't even mess with Bellator, you guys. It's so hard when you're a content creator just to come up with all the stuff for the UFC that needs to be done. When you get a week off, you really need to work on a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff, and that's certainly what I did during this week off. So, I didn't really get to research any of the Bellator card or the CFFC card, but I watched most of the CFFC card, and I watched a little bit of the Bellator prelims. But yeah, didn't bet on it. So my condolences to everybody that got smoked on Bellator, though. When I was kind of watching on Twitter while that was going on, it seemed like it was a goddamn dumpster fire with a lot of underdogs winning in unpredictable ways. So yeah, but let's get it back this week, man. We got UFC going on, and we got my guy Jarno Portilla in here saying new week, new money. Let's get it, Jarno. Let's go, brother. Thanks for hanging out. Always appreciated. We got Anaconda Bet saying, hey, Weezy, where do you get these stats for division finish rate? I got them from grinding it out. I built a fights database from scratch in Excel by doing a whole bunch of cutting and pasting and typing, man. I put in the work. It was something that I did in the month off we just had. So I create, there have been over 4,400 fights in the UFC since 2013, and I have them all on a spreadsheet. And the next big step and big undertaking for your Uncle Weezy is going to be doing the analytics on these fights, going deeper into age, reach advantage, height advantage, stances, significant strike advantages. Really, I'm going to be going deep here and trying to get you guys analytics at the cheapest possible price that you can get them. And I'm just starting with the over and under 1.5 divisional finish rates. And then I'm going to build a prop template and hopefully do a prop show for you guys that will show all of the analytics that I've built from scratch with my hard work, share them with you guys so that we can take back some money from the bookies, man. It's all about cashing bets, baby. And that's what I want to be doing more than ever in 2022. And I want to do it with you guys. We got Cam saying, who we like in here, Weezy? Well, boy, from a betting line perspective, I would have to say Harris. From just a pure fight perspective, it's hard to picture Shavkat losing because we haven't seen him do it yet. He's been close. But other than that, man, this guy, he can lose minutes and then win moments as good as anybody I've ever seen. And his ground and pound is absolutely vicious. His submissions are vicious. He's got great wrestling. When you wrestle him, he's very dangerous off of his back. His conditioning has been good and his striking has been good. So, I mean, I don't see really any weak spots in either of these guys' game, to be honest with you. But Shavkat being 7 years younger, a little bit bigger, undefeated, I would have to lean him to win this fight. But Carlston Harris at the line that you can get him at right now is very intriguing. And Cam is saying, my girl just dumped me. I'm ready to make some cash this weekend. Man, I'm sorry to hear that, Cam. That's rough, dude. But you know what? The UFC will never dump you. Your Uncle Weezy won't ever dump you, man. We're here for you, brother. And let's do this together. Let's make some money, man. And you know what? There's a lot of fish in the sea, brother. You're going to get back out there, get back on that horse, start taking care of business, crushing ass in no time, Cam. But we're going to worry about the UFC this week. You take your time. You'll come back when you're ready, brother. Stronger than ever. Victor De Jesus saying, at Cam, hey, man, at least you get to save some money on Valentine's Day like me. Let's make that extra cash on these fights. Attaboy, Victor. That's looking at the bright side, brother. And Rob saying, right on, brother. I'm right there with you. You guys, we got to go over the strength of schedule stats. So now we've only got, you guys, 2 fights for each of these guys. But Rakhmonov already, this guy has fought Alex Oliveira and Michel Prazeres, 2 UFC journeymen that have been all over, have fought everybody, and have good winning records over quality opponents. So another reason why there's so much hype on Shavkat Rakhmonov is, this guy's first UFC fight, was against Alex Oliveira. This is a guy who has fought everybody. And then the second one is against Prazeres, who's older now and who's nearing the end of his career. But Prazeres was 8-3 in the UFC going into that fight. So he's beaten some quality opponents, while Carlston Harris's wins are over Impa Kasanganay and Christian Aguilera. So, he's fought much less experienced competition. Tough opponents, obviously, but Shavkat has fought the much more experienced competition here in the UFC. So the wins are the same for both of these guys as the overall stats. If we look at the last 5 for both of these cats, we've got Shavkat Rakhmonov prior to the UFC has wins over Tiago Verajao, Daniil Prizaka, and Rinat Sayakbayev. And then we've got the Carlston Harris win over Saigid Izgakmayev, over Alex Santos and Claudio Rocha. Both of these guys 5-0 in their last 5 fights. Both of these guys have finished all 5 of those wins inside the distance. It's like 2 freight trains that are at full speed heading for each other on the same track. I don't know which one of these guys is going to crack when the trains hit each other, but it is going to be so fun to watch. But let's get a little bit deeper into these stats. Like we mentioned, both of these guys have fought really good regional scene competition. It's Carlston Harris with 7 more fights, but we can see that we do have 2 losses for Shavkat Rakhmonov on the amateur scene, both of them against the unforgettable, inimitable Gadzi Murad Kiramagomedov. That is a fucking mouthful. Can you imagine naming your kid Gadzi Murad Kiramagomedov? How many letters is that? I mean, that's 11 letters in the first name. And like the second name is like 14 letters. You're going to get cramps just writing your name at the top of a test with a name like that. But as hard as it is to pronounce that name, it's even harder to beat this man as an amateur mixed martial artist, as he finished up what it looks like with a 9-1 record as an amateur. Gadzi Murad Kiramagomedov, the only guy to beat Shavkat Rakhmonov twice as an amateur. He's now 10-4 as a professional. But yeah, so those were his losses as an amateur. But then he comes in and he's fighting Bartosz Chirek here, 4-1 in M1. Mikhail Winchek, 5-2. And this is back in 2015 when Shavkat was like 19, 20, 21 years old. He's coming in and fighting established mixed martial artists in good promotions here. Adi Boranbayev, 13-3. Marcelo Brito, 13-7. The Iron Turtle, Jun Yong Park, he got a second round rear naked choke victory over him. The grappling deficiency on the ground was clear there. Levan Saladnovic, 5-2. This fight here against Feridun Odilov. This is if you want to see Shavkat actually get hurt, if you want to see Shavkat on skates, this is the fight. This guy Odilov here came in with an 8-1-2 record. He lost this fight. And now, ever since then, he's been on a 6-fight winning streak. And he is the EFC middleweight champion with wins over Sergey Kalinin and Enoch Solves Torres in South Africa. And before that, he was the GFC champ. So this guy is no joke here, this guy Odilov. And the first round was very close. I scored it for Odilov. The second round, Odilov throws a big, wild overhand right and clips Shavkat on the chin. Shavkat's on skates. Odilov takes him down, ground and pounds him, and is very, very close to finishing him. They go back to their stools after the second round. Shavkat comes out in the third, plays it safe for about the first minute, and then after getting his ass whooped in that second round and nearly finished, he turned up the volume on Odilov, put the pressure on him, started beating him up with the striking, got a body lock, slammed him to the ground. And I think when he slammed him to the ground, I think he separated Odilov's shoulder. He started with the ground and pound, and I think Odilov verbally submitted to strikes there because of the viciousness of that body lock takedown that Shavkat hit him with. So not only is Shavkat 14-0, but we did have a situation, a kind of Alexander Gustafsson pushing the unbeaten John Jones for everything that he could handle. Well, we had that same situation here in the Odilov fight, and we know that Shavkat Rakhmonov is not going to quit on anybody here. So it's, this is something that we can look at here, and it is the Faridun Odilov fight, a great fight. But you just see this guy, causing havoc here. Corner stoppage after round 2. Referee stoppage after round 2 from punches to ground and pound. Thiago Verajao, ground and pound. Alex Oliveira, guillotine choke, and then a rear naked choke with Prazeres. He's finished all 14 of his wins inside the distance. Now, Carlston Harris, prior to coming to the UFC, was fighting some really good guys in Brave. He had some fights in XFC. And he started off his career kind of cold here. He lost 2 out of his first 3 fights. And then he's fighting here in some of these regional scene competitions, comes into XFC, wins 3 in a row, loses a split decision here to Julio Cesar Andrade. Cesar Andrade beat him with his wrestling here. Carlston Harris had a really hard time getting up off his back when Cesar Andrade took him down. He won the exchanges on the feet, but Cesar Andrade won a lot of minutes on the ground. That's why he lost that fight. Then he goes to Skull FC, beats Wellington Vicente in the first round. He has a win over Wellington Turman in Immortal FC back in 2016. Then he gets a win over Thiago Vieira here in Brave. And then he wins the Brave Super Welterweight Championship here. This is 170. This is before Brave changed it to 175. And then he had the loss here to Gerard Al-Salawi at 170, which was the knockout. And then he wins in Shutu by KO over Claudio Rocha, a win in Shutu over Alex Santos, 9-7. And then this fight. Excuse me. Saigid Isgakmayev, 17-1 going into this fight. This was a joint promotion between UAE Warriors and Eagle Nurmagomedov's promotion, EFC. And this was a Dana White looking for a fight. They had Isgakmayev with an opponent, and he was set up to be the guy that Dana was going to bring to the UFC. That opponent dropped out. They didn't want to fight him. In steps Carlston Harris on less than 2 days' notice. He has to cut, I think, 35 pounds in 48 hours. He does it successfully, and he Darce chokes the 17-1 Saigid Isgakmayev in the second round. A very close first round. Isgakmayev gets the takedown in the second round. Harris works back up to his butt and then starts working his front choke series, and absolutely destroys the Dagestani with that Darce choke. Made him look like an amateur. He tapped to it immediately, and everyone was blown away. Carlston Harris was not supposed to win that fight. They brought in the regional scene guy from Guyana, to come over to Abu Dhabi to fight this guy, Isgakmayev, who was teed up to be the next entrant into the UFC. An incredibly impressive performance by Carlston Harris. And I get the impression from Carlston Harris that he understands he's 34 years old. He understands he's well into his mixed martial arts career, and he is peaking right now. He has to go now, you guys. And this is a big platform for our guy from Kazakhstan to show his skills here. Shavkat is going to be fighting on the main card for the first time. He's set up against a 2-0 UFC opponent here that has got some really good regional scene wins over UFC level competition like Wellington Turman, like Isgakmayev, and then Aguilera and what's his name? Kasanganai here in the UFC. So he needs to go now. And, Rakhmonov is not used to losing. He's 14-0 as a professional. So, I don't think that he's going to be looking to, for the feel-good story from Guyana to keep up that run. Who's going to win this fight, you guys? Who do you guys got? This is amazing because this is such a good fight. We got B saying 24 thumbs up with 24 watching. You guys are the best, man. How could you get a better ratio than that? Weezy Nation is in this and will be thriving for 2022. And we got Sean saying Weezy 2024, still 2 years away, but you never know, man. Maybe we can make it happen. We got David Dennett saying, on paper, Shavkat's UFC wins are better than Carlston, but weight miss Cowboy and steroid-ridden Rusty Tractor doesn't feel better than Impa and Aguilera, although it should. Yeah, and I mean, it feels better to me, but I see exactly what you're saying. This was a Prazeres, post-steroid Prazeres at the end of his career. And yeah, Alex Oliveira is on a losing streak. Still dangerous, still a very game opponent, but on a losing streak. He's got a lot of mouths to feed. That is a very, very lusty man, Alex Oliveira, and he's got a lot of mouths to feed. So you get the impression that, you know, when they call him up, he's going to show up and cash that check. And that's the first time he's ever missed weight at 170, I believe. So that was very interesting. But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying, Dennis. It makes sense there. We got B saying we should start recording our picks for fun on the videos. Maybe an award for fun for Weezy's weekly winners. I like it, man. That's not a bad idea at all, man. David saying Harris holds a win over Wellington Turman about 5 years ago, but it was a unanimous decision and not a finish. Maybe not subbable giving Turman credentials, but getting KO'd by Sanchez is an automatic questionable chin. Who got KO'd by Sanchez? Oh, Turman did. Turman got KO'd by Sanchez. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But, you know, when we look at Carlston Harris, we're looking at a 17-4 record. But a guy who lost 2 out of his first 3 fights, Fernando Bruno, Cristiano Marquez, and those were back in 2011 and 2012. So you throw out those first 3 fights, and he's even got a win over Joel Hilton Luterbach way back in the day in 2013. So he's been fighting really, and Michel Pereira. Don't forget the Michel Pereira win. So he's got wins over Pereira, over Turman, over Carl Booth. You know, Claudio Rocha, not much of a win. You know, and Alex Santos, but the Izgakmaev win is for real. And the fact that he was able to handle Izgakmaev after cutting 34 pounds in 2 days is just mind-blowing to me. I think that this version right now that we're seeing of Carlston Harris is the most dangerous version of Carlston Harris. He's hungry. He has to go now, and he's putting everything together really well. He's putting his striking, his defensive grappling, his front choke series, his wrestling, his conditioning, and his clinch game. They're all really good, but I don't really see a lot of weaknesses in Shavkat's game either, and he's younger and longer and still undefeated. I will put in $5 for a prize for the weekly winners of the Weezy prediction contest. I love it, man. And any word on Gordon versus Bondar? I'm worried. I'm asking the same thing as you, PayPal. I have no idea, man. That is not on Bet Online right now, available to bet. There has been nobody that has opened a prop on that. But if we go to UFC stats right here, and I'll refresh the page, UFC stats right here at the bottom of the page. I'll take down your comment here. You can see it right here. Malcolm Gordon versus Dennis Bondar. They're saying it's happening. It's a flyweight bout scheduled for the UFC Fight Night, Hermanson versus Strickland. But this fight is, it's just like, it's a fight that's waiting to ruin Vegas because flyweights have very low, traditionally, finish percentages. But Dennis Bondar finishes 100% of his wins inside the distance. Malcolm Gordon gets knocked out by a hot shower. So somebody's getting finished in this fight. So I think they're just afraid to open the props. And maybe that's what's happening here. But I don't know why that fight is not on most books right now. I really honestly think that some of these books are just scared to open that line. Rob Lawrence saying, tough pick, but I'm going with Shavkat. Younger. Yeah, it's a very tough pick, Rob. I couldn't agree more. And UFC betting experience, Shavkat KO. I hope odds nice. They might be. Uncertainty saying, I got Shavkat Rakhmonov because he's younger also. Yep. David saying, closer than that line indicates for sure. So I'd have to bet Harris, and I see a fat plus 280 on Harris inside the distance or plus 600 decision. Yeah, for sure, man. He could win a decision. He's done that before. If you look at these guys' career records, you might think that Carlston Harris by decision would be a cheeky bet. And here's why. Let me get the arrow back over to the other side so that we can see these finish stats, right? How many wins does Shavkat Rakhmonov have in his career by decision? 0. He finishes all of his wins, which means that he might not be the best minute winner. He's more of a moment winner because he's finishing fights with knockouts, ground and pound, and with submissions. While Carlston Harris has finished 40 or has won 42% of his pro wins are by decision. So you do know that while Carlston Harris is a 29% finish rate by submission, a 29% finish rate by knockout, he also has, when he wins fights, a 42% winning rate by decision. So if we're getting Carlston Harris up at like plus 500, plus 600, that might be the cheekiest way to bet this because, like I say, when you go and watch the Odilov fight, you're going to see that Shavkat's got heart. This guy he's a fighter. So he's going to be very, very difficult to finish. Now, of course, when you get a Darce choke locked in completely, nobody's tough enough to survive without air, or blood to the brain. So in this case, you could see a finish via choke. It's not as likely via KO, but Carlston Harris has more ways to win because he's won a lot of decisions in his career, while we've never seen Shavkat actually win a decision. So that plus 600 decision, if that's the line on Harris, that might be something I'm taking a stab at, David. And nothing on Twitter about Bondar Gordon being canceled. Yeah, it's weird. It's just kind of like out there in limbo, and it seems like the bookies are scared, man. They're scared to open up that line. Shavkat Gilly alone can win that DC prop. Why I bet KO Shavkat, no money line. Yeah, exactly. That submission is his. Both of these guys' submission game with their chosen submissions are very, very good. They're both excellent finishers here. So let me bring up best fight odds here, and let's see what we got for some odds for this one, and see if we can find some spots. So we've got the under 1.5 is plus 105. The over 1.5 is minus 135. Kind of like the over 1.5 here. Under 2.5, minus 175. And the fight doesn't go to decision. Minus 225 is the best line you can find, but otherwise it's minus 250. And let me remind you, only 47% of welterweight fights finish inside the distance, while these guys are saying that this fight is going to finish inside the distance about 72% of the time at minus 250. However, you have a fighter with you have two guys in their 4 UFC fights that they've all finished before they've even seen the third round. So I see it, but I won't be running the window to bet fight doesn't go. And if that gets any more juiced, I might even throw a little bit on fight goes to decision, because I think that these guys are very well matched. And I think this could be the first time that Shavkat sees a decision in his career. Whether it's a win or a loss, I don't know. But both of these guys have ways to win minutes and rounds. The fight is a draw. Who cares? Harris wins inside the distance is about plus 310. Here, the best that you can get is plus 375. The worst line is plus 275. And Rakhmonov inside the distance is close to even money. It's minus 111 on one book, plus 110 here on 5 dimes. So a lot of people do like Rakhmonov here to win this one inside the distance. Harris has only been finished in one of his 4 losses, though. So very interesting. I would not want to bet Shavkat to finish Carlston Harris at those lines. It's not nearly juicy enough. But what is Shavkat by decision? See, Shavkat by decision, he's never won a decision. But man, I mean, at minus 225 on the money line, but you can get him plus 310 by decision, especially seeing that Carlston Harris has lost 4 times in his career, but he's only been finished once. That's kind of interesting. And then Harris by decision sitting there, just like David said, at plus 600. Boy, Carlston Harris by decision. I'm going to be circling that bet, because if you guys go and you watch the Carlston Harris versus Carl Booth fight, you will see that Carlston can win rounds by cage wrestling and getting on top every once in a while. But even when his opponent keeps getting up, he can continue to chain wrestle and frustrate his opponent and wear him out there, which is exactly what he did to Booth. And we've seen guys put Shavkat's back up against the cage and hold him there for extended periods of time. Maybe that might be Carlston Harris's path to victory here. And at plus 600, I just got Davison Figueiredo at plus 600 by decision. I kind of like decision bets that are at plus 600. I feel like they're lucky for your Uncle Weezy. That's something I'm going to be taking a look at, you guys. Very, very interesting. I loved breaking down this fight with you guys. I'm going to pick Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm going to pick him to win by decision. But I think that the value at plus 200 right now, which is the best line, or plus 205 on FanDuel, you can get Carlston Harris at. You guys, that's like a 32% implied probability. I think he's got a little bit better of a chance to win this fight, maybe more like 40%. He's more experienced. He's matching Shavkat in his size. Both of these guys are very well-rounded, and both of these guys are great finishers. It's just that Shavkat's 7 years younger and has never tasted defeat as a professional. So I'm going to pick Shavkat to win, but the bets that I'm going to be making are probably going to be on Carlston Harris this week. I'll probably sprinkle that money line at plus 205 and then sprinkle maybe a quarter unit on that plus 600 decision prop to try to turn it into 1.5 units. But I'm picking Rakhmonov. Man, let's see. We've got you guys asking me something here. We got B saying, you got to figure do you think it ends early or do you think it ends late? That who you put the money on, Shavkat early makes just as much sense as the alternative. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like the one time we've seen Carlston Harris finish, it was in the first round. So Shavkat early kind of makes sense just by looking at the prior data. And then Shavkat early, I mean, if we just look at how Shavkat finishes his fights, he's finishing a ton of fights in the late first round, the second round, and some in the third. So, yeah, Shavkat can absolutely finish early. But, you know, Carlston Harris has finished both of his UFC wins in the first round. So I think both of these guys have multiple ways to win this fight, I think, because they're both so dangerous. B saying, Harris third is my bet. Harris round 3 at plus 200 for the money line. You probably get him round 3 at about maybe plus 2,000. That could be really interesting. Uncertainty saying, Shavkat versus Carlston, who lands more strikes per minute? Well, according to the stats that they've accrued here in the UFC, Shavkat lands 2.87 and absorbs 1.27, while Carlston lands 5.27 and absorbs the same amount of 1.27. So I would say Carlston will land more, and Shavkat's not a big combination volume puncher, but Carlston Harris tends to be a little bit more on the volume side. He's doubling up the volume of his opponents. So, yeah, I would say Carlston Harris will throw more and land more per strikes per minute. He's the better volume guy. K. Robbie saying there's a first for everything. Yes, there is. Yes, there is. If you can get a fight starts round 3 line on your book, I will like that line if the under gets crushed. Maybe we can get over 1.5 at even or plus odds. Bet it isn't going the distance, I feel. Harris is tough as nails. He is, yeah. Rob saying, I don't know, like I said, age. See how Charles Satan or Charles gas or Carlston's gas tank is. Yeah, Carlston's got a great gas tank, dude. Trust me there. Watch him in the Booth fight. Harris third, lock that in. Yeah, I think it's a great bet, man. That could be plus 2,000. I might be sprinkling that. I like that, B. Swish Plays Games. What would you line this fight? And I think my bet would be Shavkat. I would line this Shavkat minus 160. That's where I would line this. You know, that's just what I feel like. I just kind of feel like there's a lot of hype on Shavkat, but right now the way Carlston Harris is fighting, he's so dangerous. He's so live. And I don't know where the weak spot is. So I just don't know I don't know how this fight turns out, man, but plus 600 for Carlston Harris by decision, that's very, very juicy. It's all about our value, though. Yeah, you got to get some value. And Blood Money saying, what's up, Uncle Weezy? I like the over in this fight for sure. Yeah, they're both tough dudes. So, but they're both so dangerous that, like, as much as I think like maybe the over hits, it's going to be terrifying to bet that. It's going to be such a sweat that maybe I'll just pass on it. But man, what I'm not going to pass on is watching this fight. And what I'm not going to pass on is continuing to break down these fights for you guys. I'm planning for a Soriano Maximov balls deep breakdown for tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time. And then we'll be doing just the tip at the usual time, Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. But thank you guys for hanging out with me again, your host, Uncle Weezy, for another episode of Balls Deep Breakdown. God bless each and every one of you, no exceptions. You guys, we got to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 47. I suggest we start by sprinkling that Carlston Harris money line to plus 205 on FanDuel and sprinkling that plus 600 Carlston Harris by decision. Man, you don't have to bet a lot in order to win a lot with a plus 600 line. So let's get it, you guys. Let's keep this winning streak going that we've had for the last few weeks, and let's keep it going into the future. Like I say, we got 8 consecutive weeks of UFC with no weekends off, you guys. So the work starts now. Thank you guys for hanging out. I'll be right back here tomorrow night. I'll be on Pub Sports Radio on Wednesday for the DFS show, and I'll be doing a main event deep dive with DFS by the numbers on his channel tomorrow, I believe 5:15 Central Time, or it might be 5:15 Eastern, whatever. We're going to break down Hermansson Strickland from top to bottom, from east to west, and we're going to find some angles for you guys on that fight. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown on what is going to be my favorite fight of the night, Rakhmonov versus Harris. The pick is Rakhmonov. The bet is Harris. Let's make some money, you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow.